I mean, it was good, but it definitely was.
Oh, hang on just a minute here.
Because everybody relates it.
For recording.
Up and running.
Not COVID. What if it's-
Well, that's interesting. We're recording, so we're ready to.
Set. Would you all please rise and recite the pledge with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will call the regular session of the Meeker County Board to order. And at this time, we have public comment period, if we have anyone. Don't believe we do. No one today. All right, so we'll move on to the agenda. We have a couple of changes for the agenda that we must address. If you turn to the top of the second page here, let's see, it's about midway down the second page where it says set a public hearing. We need to amend the agenda to delete setting a public hearing, and we need to amend it for a renewal instead. We'd like to renew it for an off-sale 3-2 and delete the public hearing part of our agenda.
On item 4.
On,
Item 7.
under item
seven.
7,
Item
halfway
7.
through the second page here. Oh.
7B.
Yeah, under 7.
Ah, that's page 3.
Okay, okay, I've got a different page
Gotcha.
number.
No,
It would be number 7, item B, set public hearing. We're going to cross that out. And we're going to add off-sale 3-2. The request for an off-sale 3-2.
And we can do that in the same motion that we do for 7A. So it would be approval of the on-sale renewal license and renewal of the 3-2 off-sale license for Riverside Store and Tavern.
So when we get to that point.
Correct.
We can do that. Okay. Do I hear a motion to amend the agenda?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with amendments.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I will second that.
Any further discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Agenda has been amended. Now we'll take a look at the minutes.
Madam Chair, move to approve the minutes as printed.
Second.
All right, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the minutes from October 5th? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes have been approved. All right. Then we move on to Brian.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Brian Cruz, County Sheriff. I just have one item before you this morning. It's a matter of information. Our local drug task force recently won a statewide award, and I just wanted to go over what our task force is and highlight a few of the things that brought us to the point of them getting an award. So
good.
Meeker County is a part of the C6 Drug and Gang Task Force, and C6 it stands for Cooperative Enforcement Effort 6. Currently, there are 5 counties that are a part of this drug task force: Meeker, Candy, Swift, Chippewa, and Yellow Medicine. In the past, Renville, Pope, and Stevens have also been members, and then we've also done work previous to today in Big Stone and Lackawanna County. So they cover a vast area, about 3,600 miles of area, and a population of about 97,000 people is what this task force currently covers. The task force consists of 5 detectives, 1 supervisor, and 1 secretary. And these members come from Meeker, Candy, Ohio, Swift, and the city of Wilmer. The funding for the task force comes from federal, state money, and per capita from the counties. In addition to that, the forfeiture funds that are generated as a result of any task force work go back to the task force. So we have an agreement with them, if they do a drug case in Meeker County and there's forfeited money, it doesn't stay with the county, it goes to the task force to help their operating budget. So that's just the agreement we have with them. Currently, Meeker County, and the per capita, is $5, will be $5 in the coming year. So Meeker County, in 2022 will contribute about $120,000 to the drug task force. However, we have 2 agents on that task force and we get reimbursed for their salaries. So Meeker County in return, gets back $168,000, in funding because of our agents being there. So the main objective of the drug task force, our area drug task force, gang and drug task force, is to do investigations on mid to upper level drug dealers, gang enforcement, and then assist in any violent crime investigations that are needed throughout the task force. So one of the nice things for us is we had a homicide and a shooting last year. We have 3 detectives. A homicide will tie up your staff really quickly. We can make a phone call and get 5 detectives here to help with those crimes, and that's what we did. They help with all of that as well. So some of the highlights of the past year, and this is what was presented to the State Narcotics Association in order for them to win their award, are just a few of the, I'll just highlight a few of the following. So in 2020, they arrested 349 individuals. The vast majority of those are drug crimes. Of those, 54 of those were arrested in Meeker County, and of those 54, 4 were gang members in Meeker County. Some of the seizures that the C6 was our Drug and Gang Task Force was responsible for in 2020 were 57 pounds of methamphetamine. 18 of those were out of Meeker County. To put that in perspective for you, 18 pounds of methamphetamine is approximately 82,000 hits of methamphetamine. So it's enough for 82,000 people to get high one time over. When you look at the population of Meeker County, it far exceeds what our population is. So when you look at that 57 pounds seized task force area wide, that's 258,000 hits. When you look at the population for that area, it's 100,000 people, it's 250,000 hits of methamphetamine. Methamphetamine is king in the C6 drug task force area, including Meeker County. We don't have the issues like other parts of the state do when it comes to heroin, opioids, and things like that. Methamphetamine is our scourge, and we deal with it a lot. I should point out that we had 18 pounds of meth seized out of Meeker County last year, but we had a lot of cases, some that are highlighted in the letter, where our drug task force started in Meeker and then went elsewhere and got the drug dealers or the kingpins of those cases and seized additional. So of that 57 pounds of meth, a lot of that is directly responsible for the activity that was happening in Meeker County. I spent several years on the task force. I first was on the task force 21 years ago. That's a trend that's been in place for a long time. When I started in 2000, we dealt with ounces of methamphetamine. Within a couple of years, we were buying pounds of methamphetamine, and now they're doing multi-pound seizures and purchases. So it's always been that way in this area, and actually what we learned way back when is a lot of the cartels and the people responsible for this would land in rural parts of Minnesota and then bring it to the metro area. That is now flipped where a lot of it goes to the metro area and is coming out rural. But we've always played a significant role in the methamphetamine trade into Minnesota in the west central area. Some of the other seizures that the task force has done is last year they got 28 pounds of marijuana. 14 of those were in Meeker County, and to put that in perspective, that 14 pounds of marijuana is between 7,000 and 10,000 marijuana cigarettes. So pretty significant. The list goes on with the seizures, which are a lot smaller than what the meth is, but heroin, ecstasy, fentanyl, marijuana concentrates, cocaine, PCP, TC vape cartridges, the list goes on and on. In Meeker County, there were 26 searches that were done last year by our task force, and there were 7 children removed from houses in drug houses. In Meeker County, they seized $79,000 in cash and 6 guns. So all of this information was presented to our State Association of Narcotics Investigators, and they do a yearly conference, and at that conference they award an individual award and they award a group accomplishment. And our task force was nominated and was presented that award last week. So just wanted to bring that to your attention and highlight that to you and let you understand that our team does a good job out there. They do a lot of work. They spend a lot of time doing what they're doing. And they cover a lot of area and they do a lot of cases, and the state associations recognize them for their efforts. So if you have any questions or anything else you want to make?
I have a couple. So do you have an idea of the street value of 57.7 pounds of meth?
So a pound of meth costs about $4,000 currently on the street. If you gram that out and sell it out at a street level, you can make up to $40,000 on it. So take that 57 times 4,000, and that'll give you a street number, or a wholesale number, but the street number would be times 40,000. So it's pretty significant.
Lucrative. So you were on the task force 20 years ago or so, and are we making a dent, or is it just, I always wonder when we keep these programs over and over.
Yep. So that question gets asked, and that question also comes along with, I hear a lot of times, well, it's a victimless crime. I can tell you we do make a dent. When you look at the pounds of methamphetamine that are seized, we had a 12-pound seizure in Litchfield. That was one seizure. That has an impact on the organizations. Yes, another organization steps up. Yes, as soon as we take one out, another one steps in. But the way we look at it is, every time we do this, we make an impact. So I've been asked several times, well, this is a victimless crime, and really, what are you spending your time on? Having been in this job and doing this job, it's not a victimless crime. I mean, you have husbands, wives, sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, all family members are affected by this. Except for the really high-end dealers, every one of the dealers we deal with is also a user. And then they put that on other people, and you have users and lives are destroyed. One of the cases I worked on many, many years ago was a construction manager for a company out of Princeburg, making $150,000 a year, and threw it all away on methamphetamine, destroyed the family, ended up going to prison. He got 2 first-degree cases while we were doing that. Threw everything away, destroyed the family. I haven't seen them in years, but it was years after that, it still had a major impact on them. So I think we do make a dent, and I think we do make a difference. I mean, if you talk to the people that we take out of this, actually the first time around when I ran for sheriff, I had people coming up to me and thanking me for putting them in prison and getting them away from the drug trade. So, and that's not something you hear every day, somebody thanking you for going to prison, but we do make an impact, and we do make a difference out there.
I guess I meant, are we seeing less, or are we seeing more? You know, that's, I don't agree that it's victimless at all.
Right.
Not at all. But, you know, when you talk about a little bit of marijuana, or, you know, there's a thought out there that maybe all of it should be legal.
Yep.
Would it make a difference? I think we'd have a horrible society, but.
Yeah, so that question about are we seeing more or less, we're seeing more, and that's being pushed by the drug trafficking organizations. When I was on the task force, we were buying pounds were selling for $20,000 each. So there's a lot of money to be made, and they're not slowing down, so they push more of it. Now just the law of supply and demand, you're down to $4,000 a pound.
Right.
And these are record seizures for us, and we don't see this slowing down, so it's an
And then,
increase.
is the court system doing tough enough when they get in the court system? You know, it goes, that's what things I wonder, but this is a great job, and I congratulate you, and let them know we appreciate it.
It surprised me to hear 54 gang members from Meeker. You know, I guess I didn't realize Meeker County had gangs.
Well, for the 54 arrests, 4 of them were gang members.
Or
Oh, 4 of them were gang
Yeah,
members.
and we do have gang activity. I think every county on a task force has gang activity, and the amount of activity is really based on the population. So Kansas County obviously has the most, and then we're second in line with that. So it's just 4 arrests, but that doesn't include all the intelligence and information that they gather on gangs and the activity that they monitor as well. This was just brought up, I was at so the oversight for our local teams is the Violent Crime Coordinating Council in Minneapolis, or in St. Paul, which is under the Office of Justice Programs. The gang pointer system in Minnesota, C6 Drug Task Force is basically the only task force that's putting information into that gang pointer system. So they're active and they're following them, and there's activity all over our region.
I was at a PAC meeting last week and I found out about this Delta 8 and Delta 9 and you immediately.
Yep.
And it's actually being sold in some smoke shops. And this is how our young people are getting started.
Yep. So I would say approximately 10, 12 years ago, we saw the introduction of synthetic THC or synthetic cannabinoids. And the state has always been lagging behind. So they figured out how to do this chemical makeup, state makes it illegal, and they then change it. When the federal government basically legalized hemp, everybody jumped under that agricultural law, and they're changing or using different chemical makeups to skirt the law. What you're talking about there is the drug that's getting people high. It's not the CBD that doesn't have THC in it. It's sold in stores all over the place.
Is it legal or is it not?
Depends on who you talk to. So at the meeting I was just at, that was the great debate. There are county attorneys who are going after it, and there's county attorneys who are standing down and saying, I don't know. It needs to be cleared up by the legislature, because it's definitely a gray area. Same with the CBD and the levels and the hemp. There's gray areas there that they're not cleared up. And it's confusing for us, it's confusing for attorneys. Where do we stand and what do we do? That's the great debate right now.
One of the things they said about this is because it is sold in many of the smoke shops and stuff, the young people have great accessibility to it.
Yep.
Whereas they don't to some of these other things.
So you can't buy a cigarette when you're under 18, but you can go buy this,
Yeah,
21.
vaping.
or 21, yeah, sorry.
And in Renville County West, at school a month ago, they found a fourth grader vaping. So,
Well, the one thing I did think about, because I hear a lot from people about, yeah, well, so you got 5 cops sitting on a corner trying to bust somebody with a joint. This doesn't look like a joint to me, right? It looks like a lot of illegal drugs.
Right.
I don't think we sit on street corners trying to catch somebody with a joint.
No, we don't. And the reality is that the low-level stuff, yes, once in a while the task force will get that, or they're looking, so they'll target a dealer and they'll look at his customers and they'll target a low-level guy.
To
So,
try to get,
yeah, so there are low-level arrests, but that's not what they're.
but you're
aiming
trying
for.
to you're trying to get information to get
Correct.
to them.
We've had a couple cases that actually have gone federal, where federal prosecution has
Because of
taken over the
using the
case.
United States mail and all of that.
Well, and because of the size of the amount of drugs
Okay.
and firearms, they really look at the amount of drugs, plus if there's violent crimes that go along with it as well.
Yeah. Well,
as a board, do we wanna pass a motion of recognition or a congratulations or something on this?
How are these folks being recognized? Did you do anything special for them? Did they receive a, document, a certificate?
Yep, they are receiving an award. So at that conference, there is about 300 and, I can't remember, 320 or 340 narcotics investigators from throughout the state that were at that, and they were recognized at a banquet at that conference and presented with an award.
Otherwise, Julie did bring banana bread.
Have some banana bread. The gang is here. Bring them on up.
can't do that.
Well, personally, I extend a great thank you to you and your staff, because it's dangerous work that you're trying to protect our children, grandchildren, and our neighbors. So thank you very
Great,
much.
thank you.
Yeah, I
Brett.
think, I just was gonna add, Brian, as nice as it is to get recognition, it's not a pleasant task that
Right.
got the recognition. And some of the numbers that you're putting through there, I mean, per capita, I think our numbers are a little online. And what I'm getting at is, do the geographics of where we're located, with our surrounding counties and the population sizes around us, in Highway 12 as a corridor, I'm assuming that, increases our likelihood of activity, if you will, if is that
Yeah, that
Am I going down the right path?
Yeah, no, that comes into play. I mean, yeah, it's, you know, these guys, when they're on a task force, they have statewide jurisdiction by statute. Because drugs don't stop at a county line. They're all over. Some of the cases that they worked on, they're here, they're up in Mille Lacs, they're down in the cities, they're all over the state. When I was on that, task force, we were Duluth, Fargo. I mean, you have to chase it down. You can't just stop, because if you stop, you're letting the rest of the organization go. So, yeah, the highways and as mobile as our communities are now, that has a major impact on what we do.
So the surrounding geographics do affect traffic through Meeker. I mean,
Absolutely.
the size of the counties around us. So it's fair to say that our problems are a little bit larger than our population.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, that's why the residents of Meeker feel the effects of the counties around
So
us.
many of the investigative techniques that they use clearly demonstrate in and out of our area. Whether it's our drug dealer going in another area or another drug dealer coming in our area, it's well documented that it's fluid and it's in and out. So you're right, it's more than just the 97,000 people that are in our area.
Well, good job.
Yep, good job.
Pass that along.
Thank you very much. And please express our gratitude and congratulations to the task force. Thanks for sharing that with us, Brian.
Thank you.
Very good.
Have a good day.
Yes. All right, very good. That was Brian. Now Lisa.
Good morning, Lisa Graffentine with the Meeker County Economic Development Authority. We've got a couple items to bring forward to you today. The first one is the EDA has been talking about ways that we can make some revisions to our revolving loan fund to make it a bit more competitive based on current lending climate. And so in front of you, we have some recommendations to this, to the guidelines for the revolving loan fund. They're in both in yellow and in red there, so you can kind of see the changes we're looking to make. The first one is that we did not have the required federal language that's needed in there, so that's a compliance issue just to get us up to speed with what needs to be in there, because a big portion of the funds we have in our revolving loan fund are federal funds, so we have to ensure that when they're relent, they follow the federal guidelines. We did modify to the equity participation, and this just aligns with how we market the program. So if it is an existing program or existing business, we do allow them to come in with less equity than potentially a new business. Some of the other changes we made is we wanted to make the process a bit easier for businesses. So it used to be a two-step process. They'd have to do a pre-application and then a final application. We just simplified that to one application, and then also took out the need for a deposit fee. So again, just trying to make it a bit more user-friendly for our businesses. And then I would say the biggest change that we made is to adjust the interest rate. We left most of the language the same, but we did have a floor in there of 5% before. And so it said before the interest rate shall be the prime minus 2.5, but then it would have no less than 5% as that floor interest rate, and we've adjusted that down to 2.5. So again, as in current times, like right now, the interest rates are really low, so this keeps us competitive. And just for the board's sake too, to understand, you know, with our funds, we are never meant to be a primary lender. Like, we are a gap financer. So this does not, we are not competing with our area banks or anything like that with any of these changes or with our revolving loan fund. We're meant to be a gap that if they are able to secure their other financing, but there's still some financing needs that we can come in to fill that final piece of their package.
So if they're not able to get funding, do you do credit checks and all that, or is it just they come to you if they can't get funding elsewhere, or is it just to fill in with, say they wanted to borrow 100 and they could only get 70, then you would gap in the 30? Is that what
Right,
that means?
it's more of that scenario, because we still do underwriting, because the board still wants to ensure that we're, you know, being, you know, responsible, fiscally responsible in terms of lending out money. So if it's someone that cannot get funding due to credit issues and such, we, you know, we'll work with them to try to figure out how they improve that credit so they can become bankable and get a loan for a potential business. But we are more of that gap filler.
Okay.
So yes, if they have a $100,000 project, the bank's willing to give, let's say, $50,000, they'll go 50%. Their business owners bring in some equity, we can come in maybe then for that final $20,000, $30,000 to help fill in those gaps.
Thank you.
And again, this is a county revolving loan fund that the EDA administers on behalf of the county. So the reason it's being brought forward is any changes do have to be approved by the county board if you agree with the changes that are being recommended by the EDA board.
I'll make a motion to approve the revolving loan fund guideline revisions.
And I'll second that motion, Madam Chair.
We have a motion, it has been seconded. Is there any additional discussion?
I'd just make a comment that, yeah, this probably 2 months ago that we went through this quite detailed and just made some adjustments. Interest rate has been cheap for many, many years, and we're kind of priced out of we weren't, it wasn't incentivizing anyone to come to us, so we just tried to make that adjustment, but, so.
How many year loan? Like if you go to the bank, it's 15 or 30 or?
We typically it's 15 years is what
15 year.
we will do.
Okay, all right.
I think we have had a one time where they extended or over the time that I've been here. But it's been a great program, I think, otherwise, hasn't it?
And we have significant resources, so we have funds to lend to businesses.
Right.
So again, this will help make our funds a bit more competitive to help fill those gaps that are needed by businesses as they look to grow or expand.
Any additional questions? Discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then the other item for you is just, as long as I was here to take the opportunity, we usually the EDA tries to meet with the county board at least once a year to give you a bit of an update on everything that we're working on. And so I've included in here some of the goals that as an EDA we outlined at the beginning of the year and give you some progress updates in how we're doing with those goals. I won't read through the entire document because you have that in your packets, but just a few highlights is that we have seen a significant uptick in business inquiries this year, which is really good. 2020 was very slow. We were dealing with more business and COVID response and helping businesses stay afloat, versus now we're seeing a lot of inquiries from people looking to start a business for the first time. Also a couple businesses that were looking at succession planning and how they can maybe work with their employees to take over ownership of those companies, and then also a couple of expansions and potential relocations into the county as well. So that's been great to see that. Something else to highlight is that if you didn't see the press release, last week the Southwest Initiative Foundation was awarded the Main Street Revitalization funding for their agency, and they had to select 3 communities. Again, they cover a large 18-county area, so they selected 3 communities, and Litchfield was one of those communities that they included in their application. So that will open up some funding for our community, especially focused on Main Street, to bring in some additional loan resources. And we, as the EDA, offered to be a partner in helping to finance some of those projects as well. So that's some exciting news considering the large geographic area that they cover.
That's probably a match funding, isn't it?
It
the
is.
business?
So yes, so the state required, some of the state funding goes into it, but they have to bring significant leverage and match into it as well. So I think that helped us that, again, as an EDA, we had the ability to bring some resources to the table to help match that and encourage that work within our county. Under housing, you can see there's been a lot of activity. This has been a major focus of the EDA. We heard from businesses the past few years that housing was a big barrier, and so we've put a lot of energy and resources into helping partner with the private sector to do housing development. The Watkins 20-unit project was recently opened. We've got another 20 units underway in Eden Valley. We've been partnering with a single-family developer who built and sold 4 homes really quickly, and are partnering with him again to start another 4 homes here in Litchfield. And then also working with another developer here in Litchfield to potentially, I think phase 1 of that project will be about 14 units, but overall it has the opportunity to add much more in multiple phases. So a lot of good work there happening in the housing front, and then also in childcare. That's been another initiative that we've been working on. We're getting close to potentially creating a childcare fund that can help new and existing providers to be able to kind of increase the number of daycare and childcare slots that we have within the county. And then we've also been meeting with various developers, providers, and others to try to talk about getting them to grow and expand within the county as well. So again, continuing to explore some opportunities that we can see some new childcare opportunities here within the county. So again, those are just a few of the highlights. Workforce development also continues to be a big issue. And so Judy and I at the chamber have been working really closely on potentially some strategies that we can look to deploy here in the county because like everyone, employers need people. So that's kind of, we've been doing a lot of work around housing and childcare, which they'll also need when they, potentially move here to take jobs. But now the big challenge becomes finding people. So kind of come up with some strategies around that. It's a challenge that everybody, I think, is facing over. So. Any questions? Again, I just did a quick high level. I didn't think you'd want me to go through probably the 4 pages of the report, but if there's any questions on any of the information.
Do you think in Meeker County, I'm not talking about statewide, because we know it's an issue, do you think that the lack of childcare has prevented businesses from starting here?
Childcare is something we hear about. I probably isn't the number one issue. It's the issues tend to kind of move a little bit, and so we haven't heard as much that childcare was the bigger issue before. Well, it was, I think, a few years ago, and then housing became more of an issue. But we're still hearing a bit of it, that it is kind of a challenge. I think that, and with COVID too, we saw some changes. So we've heard from some of our providers that, where we always heard infant care was high demand. Well, as of recent, it's more in the 3 and 4 year old. Well, with COVID, with some people being able to work from home, if they had a 2-month-old, they likely could work and have a 2-month-old at home where they can't with a toddler. So again, I think, the demands and trends continue to change on a regular basis, but it is a challenge that we do hear from some of the employers. But I don't think I think definitely finding people has become the number one challenge for businesses. And then now when they're able to find the people, the housing and childcare probably will be the second and third kind of challenges that they'll bump up against. But right now it's definitely people over housing and childcare, I would say, in discussions with them.
And I think it's hard to judge because now we have people who, your child's been exposed to COVID, you can't go to daycare, you have to stay home, you're short-staffed again. Because I remember when we started the daycare task force, we needed daycare, infants particularly, a few years ago. People were driving to Hutch for daycare, so they were starting to live in Hutch, So but now with COVID, I think I think it's hard to get to the bottom of what the actual problem is. Number one, people got used to staying home, and they liked it. Some people liked it. Not Brandy, obviously, working from home. So, right? Do you agree? So it's hard to figure out what it is, I think, at this point.
We've had a lot of changes and a lot of things happen in the past year.
I think a lot of the centers are short-staffed. They can't find people, so they have open spots, but they can't fill them because they don't have the staff to fill them, so. Just gotta get past it also.
And that's the biggest issue, in trying to add new daycare slots. We've met with a provider to talk about expanding in Meeker County, and that was kind of the first comment.
Right.
Well, until I can find, I'm struggling to find people
That's
at
what the
some
problem.
of my other centers, and so until I can find people, how can I?
The whole thing is kind of
Right.
turned around,
Right.
so, yeah.
Thank you.
Any
Thanks,
words
Lisa.
on, from our Plymouth Industries people? I gotta ask. So, okay.
So, I'll circle back.
I figured I
circled
would've-
back a couple times, but
Yeah.
haven't heard anything else, so.
Okay. No, that was a very good, piece of information that you put together for him too. I appreciate that. So,
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Lisa.
Lisa.
thanks.
Very good. Barb is next on the agenda.
Okay, first item I have is for the public hearing for the on and off sale intoxicating liquor license for Shaggy's Bar and Fire. So just a little update there with a new owner. Each of these has to go through a public hearing for the off sale portion of the process. And I think, Julie, we have given you agenda, so if you would go through that.
Okay. Now, this is for the Shaggy Bonfire one here. Okay, yes, we have an agenda. They would like to, the open public hearing, but do we need to, we have no one to speak to that?
Right, but we still need to go through the process, so we'll open the public hearing,
Okay,
and then I can go through the purpose of the hearing, which, I can outline for you.
okay.
Paul might be here to speak.
Approach the microphone, please. Yeah.
I just had to do that because you were busy. I put him on the spot.
Hey, Steve,
Scared.
that do a nice thing for people was last week.
Yeah, that was last week.
2 weeks is long gone.
Oh,
So
Barb.
Julie, if we
Yep.
have the open hearing, so Shaggy's Bonfire has submitted applications for an on-sale, including a Sunday and an off-sale intoxicating liquor license. The location of the premise and the picture up here gives you an idea. So before a license can be issued by the Department of Public Safety, you as a body has to approve the application and pass it on, along with approval from both our sheriff and attorney, which we have. To consider a new owner application, the off-sale intoxicating license needs this public hearing. We did have to notice interested parties in a 3-mile radius of that premise, which we did, along with the townships that are in that area. Because it's on Highway 22 and very close, we noticed both townships. We did get the approval from Ellsworth Township to continue to have an off-sale intoxicating license at that location. And continuing on, I did expect that we would have representation from Shaggy's. They did ask if they needed to be here, and I said, you know, it's always nice to see the owners, but it wasn't a mandatory piece, and so I believe they went with that particular piece. So as public comments, I don't know that there are any. So then I would request that you close this particular hearing. We've met the requirement, and do the possible action of the County Board of Commissioners to move approval.
Okay. Any further questions? We have no representatives, so we will close this open hearing. And,
Madam Chair, move to approve the sale, on sale, including Sunday and off-sale licenses for Shaggy's Bonfire LLC, 16818 Minnesota Highway 22, Litchfield, Minnesota.
do I hear a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay. I find it interesting that, with a situation like that, like this, you have to notify people within a 3-mile radius, but you can build a huge animal facility or something, and you only have to notify people within a 1/4-mile radius? That's
This is
shocking.
driven by statute, so when we started to work with that, we needed to even dip into McLeod because of the location
Sure. That
requirements.
surprised me.
Right.
All right. Any other questions?
The
Discussion?
other question that did come up is why we had to do this when an existing location had already been approved for all these pieces, and that's also in statute by new ownership.
New ownership, yeah. When would this go into effect?
Well, that's why I was hoping they were here. When I spoke with them, they were under considerable remodeling, and also were meeting all of the hoops that they needed to go through with regard to seating and equivalent of septic. They were targeting November 1st. I highly doubt that that's happening at
Okay.
this point, but we can approve this open-ended as to when they start, and that's why you'll see in the paperwork that there's no beginning date, but their ending date will be this date consistent with all of these, and that's June 30th. So we will fill in that beginning date. I'll provide the paperwork to the Alcohol and Gambling, and upon them having the inspections and the licensing for their food, then I assume that this will be issued as well.
Very good. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. At this point, we need to recess as county board and convene as County Ditch Authority. So I would like to do that at this time.
I need your help.
At this point, we have, again, a public hearing, but we're going to continue. It's a public hearing continuation for County Ditch 18. So we will open that, and I'll turn it over to Barb and Phil if you have your comments.
So the purpose of the continuation of the County Ditch 18 was because there were public comments made and concerns that we need to have reviewed and placed into the order. And so Gail has taken and redefined items in the findings in order, specifically paragraphs 15 through 23, to reflect the public comments and comments regarding the issues that were brought up, specifically with concern for Cedar Mills Township, with concern in item number 23 with regard to bringing private water in and the steps that needed to happen. Keep in mind that this particular request of our board here is adequacy. So all of those other underlining things granted are part of adequacy, but you are the authority that's going to decide whether there's adequate flow or adequate, that the system's adequate to bring this outlet in. And I believe Phil has some other comments that he was gonna add.
Well, basically what Barb said, just that the adequacy of CD 18, that's the drainage authority's concern here. And the engineer's report has outlined that that system does have adequacy.
Now, my comment would be too, yeah, I don't think there was any discussion really about the capacity of the ditch system. It was more, letting the township, having the township, be aware and sign off, if you will, and stuff. So it was more, dotting some Ts and crossing the Ts and dotting a few Is rather than, the capacity issue.
Yep,
From my
those
recollection.
Comments were incorporated into the findings now, but that's not necessarily the decision.
Yep.
So before closing the comment period amongst you, the public comment period had already closed. We need to be sure that you have all of these concerns met, and whether there's other questions, then you will close the public hearing and move forward with the adoption of the order.
It was my understanding and belief that Cedar Mills, who was here and represented, got their questions answered satisfactorily, and they were okay with what they heard.
And I think when you look at item 22 and 23, or especially probably 21, 23, I believe that it's outlined so that there's a documentation as well.
Well, and then, like, we had here, acknowledge the updated findings and order granting petition which determined benefits and setting outlet fees. This was done according to our attorney guidance through this process.
Correct.
So, and who will set that fee?
That fee is already set in this order.
Yep.
So when we had a report from Rod Rehnquist, he gave details as to how we will bring these people in and how they will be contributing in the future.
And that goes on their tax roll
Right.
along
Item-
with all
is
of
that-
the other.
Is that item 13?
Yep.
Yes.
Everything is spelled out there.
They'll pay an initial fee and then they will pay as a benefited landowner on that particular property.
And they're aware of all of this.
We are very aware of that.
Yeah.
It's been very helpful to work with Matt. He's been on top of this. He did ask if he needed to attend. It was a little bit of a hardship and I said it was up to him.
Okay.
It's gonna rain tomorrow.
Uh-oh.
That creates a hardship.
See,
Right, Phil?
non-binding. Non-binding.
Tractors, so.
Oh, man. Well, then, hearing no additional questions, we'll close the open portion of the hearing. And I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, motion to adopt the findings and order granting petition, determining benefits and setting the outlook to authorize Matthew and Darcy Johnson to use County Ditch 18 as an outlet for drainage of property in section 27 of Cedar Mills Township.
Do I hear a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second that motion.
Any additional questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that.
The next item I have is a request for additional funding to the ditch fund. Keep in mind that in November we will be billing, and so hopefully I'll have a turn of events. However, there's some large invoices that have been paid and are being paid this time. So I am asking for a $75,000 loan on 2% interest for specifically Joint Ditch 17. Joint Ditch 17 has lots of things going on with the wetland restoration projects, and it's very expensive. However, the landowners will be getting some reprieve on the cost because it's going to be paid for by some soil and water and both.
Madam Chair, I'd recommend, I move to approve the loan from the ditch fund in the amount of $75,000 at 2% interest for judicial ditch 17.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Any discussion? Any questions? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else at this point?
For the ditch, other than Joint Ditch 17, we'll have some meetings coming up shortly, and 4 of our representatives up in Meeker County as we move forward with the issues on that.
Okay, so we will adjourn the County Ditch Authority at this time and reconvene as the county board. And Barb, you're still on the agenda here.
Okay, so Riverside Store and Tavern has their on-sale license renewal period correct right now. And there's been some discussion with them ongoing, primarily in regards to 3.2 being, rather difficult to get or impossible to get, as some would say. But I think we've come to a resolution for them at this point to review what they currently have, rather than going forward with trying to do some of the intoxicating ones, simply because of their establishment, the size, their clientele, and et cetera. So yesterday I met with them, had a little change of heart in what we thought they were gonna do to what they're wanting now. So before you today, I am asking for the renewal of their on-sale wine, which allows them the strong beer authorization that they have had in the past. We will renew their 3.2 on sale, which is a county issued, in conjunction with that. And we will request for renewal of their 3.2 off-sale license. This will put them in the same place that they have been the last few years, rather than making changes.
So renewal of all existing ones that they have right now.
Correct.
No change.
Correct.
And we can take all of that in one motion.
I would say that'd be fine, so the motion would be for the on-sale wine and strong beer endorsement, and for the off-sale 3.2. So amend that piece from the amended agenda today.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the renewal of the license for Riverside Store and Tavern, and the off-sale 3.2 intoxicating liquor license.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Did you need more on that, Barb?
Is that
I heard a little.
sufficient, or how do you want that worded? Corey's probably getting it down for it.
Renewal of the liquor, wine, including the strong beer endorsement and the 3.2 licenses on and off. The word intoxicating generally goes to strong.
Oh.
You can get intoxicated on 3.2 as well, but the wording is different. So, the renewal of the liquor, wine with strong beer endorsement and 3.2 off.
Okay, so renewal of beer and wine, strong beer and wine, and the off-sale 3.2
Correct.
liquor license. for Riverside Store and Tavern. Clear as mud.
Yeah, there you go. And will you second that then, Beth?
Sure,
Is that you that
I
seconded
will.
that? Okay.
Will.
All right. All right. Any questions on that? Any comments, questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Has been approved.
Then moving on to the payables.
Motion to approve the county and hospital accounts payable.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Any discussion, any questions about the county or hospital accounts payables?
I didn't see nothing in there that was earth shattering. Pretty straightforward.
It's a lot to go through.
I didn't even have to send you a question this time.
I know, I just sent them to everyone else,
Let her off the hook. All right, hearing no additional questions, we will take the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Thanks, Barb.
Thank you so much, Barb.
Hurry, you're right on time.
Yay, look at that.
We're on time.
I'm always.
Got 4 minutes.
You just jinxed it, you know?
I suppose I
I
did. It'll all depend on how many questions you have, Paul.
Good morning, Paul Vukovich, Meeker County Social Services. Commissioner Schmidt, just so you know, last Thursday was National Dessert Day, and our County Connections group got a bunch of recipes, and a lot of folks brought in desserts. It was awesome.
So this week is
That much.
this is National Exercise
Yeah.
Week now, or
Yeah.
what?
It is, yes, but today is National New Friends Day.
Oh,
Okay.
Wow.
let's go up.
So how we doing?
I don't know.
Say, Paul, looking at the calendar, our next commissioner meeting is National County Commissioner Day.
Wow.
And
About time they have one of those.
Special for that day.
Should be every.
I'm not as good as other folks as being.
I do have to say you're a very good used car salesman. If this gig don't work out for you,
Right.
I tell ya.
All right, let's get to business.
I've
That
lost
clock's
complete
ticking.
control. Paul, you're on your own. Yeah.
Thank you for your help anyways.
Yeah.
All I have before you today is approve our social services accounts payable.
I did see one thing, but I can't remember what it is right now. It wasn't earth shattering; it's more of a discussion point. So I might email you a question.
Please do,
It was just
yes.
a clarification. So
Yep.
I don't recall what it was right offhand. So I'll make a motion to approve the social service accounts payable.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion. It has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Any questions for Paul? He's going to be bringing treats next time based on all those recipes that he received. You
I will
mentioned.
share the recipe book because they
Yeah.
did
Oh.
put them all together. So.
Okay, well,
And the used car salesman, that was a compliment.
yeah.
Okay.
I just want to clarify.
See, so I'm driving a 2002 right
There you go. Well, very good. Any other snide remarks from the,
Danny ain't here today, so.
yeah, Danny's not here. Well, hearing none, we will take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Accounts payable has been approved.
Thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know if it's accounts payable or any other order of business. We will be doing a presentation, I believe, in the end of November that's going to focus more about how our budgets are put together. The Department of Human Services has now taken our county cost reports, and it's a report that's been generated every year by the state, and it has now created a dashboard on their website, and so we're going to go over that, and that'll hopefully give you some of the bigger picture kind of movements and things that we have going on in our budget, so.
Okay, and that'll be coming up now in November. All right,
At the work session, I believe.
Yep.
Yes.
great.
So if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thanks.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Yep. All right, Greg,
Morning,
good morning.
Greg Schultz, Land Use Director. Today I've got one final plat, one IUP, and two CUPs for the year. All right, first one is gonna be the final plat application for Johnson Oasis. The property located in section 3, township 118, range 30 in Ellsworth Township, Meeker County for parcel 080444020. On the map. Any questions?
I didn't know we had any oases in Meeker County.
Yeah, how did they get that name?
I will be abstaining from any discussion or voting on this particular issue.
I'll make a motion to approve the final plat application for Johnson Oasis.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Questions? On this motion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, next item I've got is an interim use permit, number 15737 for a level 2 home occupation for a watercraft storage facility in a part of section 1, township 119, range 29, Dassel Township for parcel 070936000 and parcel 070936010. So it's gonna be located on the east side of Big Swan. The applicant owner owns the properties on the riparian side of that 747th Avenue, 742nd Avenue. He owns the 4-acre lots across the road, and he wants to put a storage area for boat storage over there. On those two lots, one building on each lot, eventually is the plan.
Am I reading that right? That's 8.187 acres total? for
Total,
both.
yep.
That's the whole area, okay.
And Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, there was nobody there.
No, there's no discussion, nobody's there, no phone calls, nothing on that from the public. It's an open lot right now, and actually it's got a hill from 742nd, when you look to the east, it's got a hill that goes up. If you notice on the pictures, then on the backside is gonna be the shed, so you may not even notice the storage area on the backside of that hill's even there. And he can build a 3,200 square foot, shed on each, parcel. If he wants to, up to
That's-
3,200 square feet per parcel,
3,200 per building.
per building, yep.
Okay,
So you can
that's
enclose-
max.
That's
That's
max, and without a
max.
variance, so you can go up to 6,400 total square feet of storage area for both lots, without a variance.
Madam Chair, move to approve an interim use permit application for parcel 07-093-6000 and 07-093-6010 to operate a level 2 home occupation on a R1 suburban residential district property within the shoreland of Big Swan Lake.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
We have a motion that has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Is this just going to be storage? Will there be,
Storage only, and it's actually from his company in Annandale. He's got a storage facility, boat rental, and watercraft rental. He rents some cabins, and it'll be for his clientele to, he's gonna shrink wrap them in Annandale and transport them from Annandale to this location here.
Winter storage.
Winterize them.
I see, so just storage, so there
Yep.
won't, he won't be putting in any underground tanks for fuel, to fuel
No, he doesn't
equipment,
Intend
or
on doing any mechanic stuff, it's just winter storage is all
Okay.
this for.
by the lake, I was wondering, is there going to be grease, oil, gasoline along with this? Any additional questions on the motion? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item I have is a CUP for Chad Camp Ankle. That's an approval of conditional use permit 15717 for property located at 24336 726th Avenue, Dassel, Minnesota. It's on Long Lake in the Shoreland District for parcel 0709555000. And this is a landscaping project. We're gonna rework the riprap that's already existing on the lakeside there. It's all overgrown with willows and trees and other vegetation. And that lower, the lakeside, retaining wall there is curved right now. They're gonna straighten that out. They're gonna redo that rock, and then they're gonna put also another retaining wall on the top of the property, the top of the hillside, to kind of control the erosion that's been eating away at the property for the past 20 years. So that's the project, the total project.
And you should make note, this is not an after the fact.
No, not an after the fact.
So they're gonna, right now it's curved,
Yeah, right now the
and
bottom one
they're
is
gonna
curved.
make it straight and then put in a higher one,
Yep, exactly.
higher up.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Greg Jans and Smith were there on property, and they didn't have any issues with it. They said it was a good erosion, especially the top level of rock up there is a really good erosion control, but it's really eating away at the hillside there. So that'll be a bonus to control stuff going down towards the lake.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve an application for a CUP to move more than 10 cubic yards of material within the shore impact zone and more than 50 cubic yards in the shoreline district of the general development Long Lake with conditions.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Is there any additional questioning? Any other comments? And when something like this goes through, Greg, and the project is complete, does someone go back and check it out to make sure that it was done appropriately?
Yeah, they're supposed to let us know within a week when it's completely completed.
Okay, and then is that your office?
We'll go out and look at it, yeah. This is gonna be a two-phase thing. They're gonna try to do the riprap in the lower, wall this year, and then next spring will be the upper wall. We'll get it there.
And the property owner does all of the hiring of folks.
Yep.
We just simply approve
Approve the work to be done.
the work to be done, and then we go back and take a look at if things were done according to.
Mainly, we're looking at erosion control.
Yep.
We're gonna see if things have been replanted, if things are in place, if there's a lot of slumping of the soil down towards the lake and things like that. If they took out extra trees that maybe shouldn't have been taken out, stuff like that. We're looking, just kinda.
In cooperation with Fish and Wildlife, DNR, those folks.
Yep. And on this one, DNR has not commented on this one as of yet, so.
Okay, very good. Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The last one I have here is for a conditional use permit 15720 for property located at 32926 738th Avenue, South Haven, on the Lake Francis Shoreland District, for parcel 1310410000. This is a landscape property of, going to be doing riprap along the shoreline, which there isn't any riprap additionally, and they're gonna plane down the frost heaves along the shoreline as well. To kind of keep that from stuff that's been happening over the years for frost heaves. This is a brand new lot. It was part of Ranta Shores from 2019, so it's a new house, new development. And it's looking at the shoreline now, so. And this riprap project will mirror the properties to the north and to the south of this property. They have similar riprap. So it'll be continuous on all three properties. It'll be a big riprap project. The DNR just did, at the time I did this RBA and the PowerPoint, they did contact me about, it's in the works for a permit on them. They don't see any issues with it for the riprap. They just got that at the end of last week.
Madam Chair, move to approve an application for a conditional use permit to move more than 10 cubic yards of material within the shore impact zone in an R1 suburban residential district and within the shoreland district of the general development Lake Francis, including the proposed conditions.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
We have a motion. It has been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Any questions for Greg? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Any other questions?
What's happening at solid waste? Are we open all the time?
We're open all the
Yeah,
time.
it's all open for demo material
I'd say
too?
all the time, but for now it is. I'm not sure how long it'll last.
But I
We
mean,
might have
we're
to-
not every other day or anything, we're just,
No, not as of yet, no.
thank you.
not yet. It's still a day-to-day basis, telling
Okay.
contractors to call every day.
Oh, so you're asking them to call first?
Yep, I would do that for a while.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Very
Have a
good.
good
Thank
day.
you, Greg. Joel? Good morning.
Morning. Joel Lampton, Facilities Manager. Meeker County, I'm here today to have a couple quotes or proposals, couple agenda items. And the first agenda item is the roof replacement at the Fairgrounds lot. I mean, I'm guessing that, I'm not for sure when it was built, the exact dates, but it's been close to 30 years, I think, that building's been there. And it's just really starting to leak and having some issues now with the roofing project. I would like to move forward, and we got two quotes, and I'd like to go with this B&J Valley Construction at $16,883.
Question for you, Joel. There's $4,000 difference, which isn't that much. Was the difference in the labor or the material?
Right now, I'm not really for sure. I think it's more probably on the labor because, and then, right now, we did add the bid was a little lower when I first went out for it. He wanted me to add $1,000 for, pricing, cause there could be a little increase or maybe a decrease. Because, metal is kind of going up and down, they don't know
So,
getting material, but.
so if we approve 16, it still could come in at 15 if.
Right.
So, we're approving the high end of it.
Yes, I wanted to put, I told him when we were gonna propose the quote, the numbers were there, so he added that extra, he said just add an extra 1,000 to kind of hopefully offset that cost, so obviously if it comes in cheaper, he'll, it's that cheaper price, so.
And actually, if B&J is, from what I know of them, I think they buy their metal wholesale, and they have connections with, I can't remember what it's called over there, but Atwater, Grove City. And they make their own sheeting, so I think that's probably where
I
the
think the
savings
material-
is. There's no middleman in that.
Right, so I do know, and we had, I think they did the Veteran Service Garage in the same project, and they were, considerably cheaper on that project too, so.
Yeah, and the other quote, which we didn't include in the packet, but the other quote has about $10,000 for subcontractor labor, subcontractor labor.
Whereas B&G, they do their own labor.
Yep.
They handle that themselves.
Yep. They've been really good to work with, so.
Yeah, they do a lot of roofing.
I think they kind of specialize more into that type of stuff rather than, where you're, the other, with the Litchfield Building Center, I think they're kind of doing, they're doing multiple projects and stuff,
Multiple
and maybe
things.
not the
Sure.
specialty type things.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a quote for B&J's Valley Construction Incorporated to replace the roof at the Fairgrounds impound building in the amount of $16,183.
Do I hear a second?
I will second that.
Okay. We have a motion. It has been seconded. Is there any additional discussion about the roofing project? When would this work be done?
As soon as, I'll probably let them know, and then as soon as they can get into to do it.
Yet this
I
fall?
know he's been fairly busy. I'm hoping we'll be yet this fall, I'm guessing, but it'll hinge on the material, getting the material and how fast it can get here, because I think that's some of their, lead, there's a little bit of lead time on the material once we approve it, so.
Okay. Any additional questions? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And second, we have for this project we have is the Family Service Department carpet. We got 2 quotes for that. As of now, we have, we did S&JP Designs and Tom's Carpet, and S&J Designs came in on the lower end of that, so that was $44,745. And as you can see on the map, I mean, it is, there's a little bit of carpet like on each side of the auditorium, and then we didn't do down in front of Veteran Service and Public Health. When we did the PROS project, we wanted to try to get that finished up now. It wasn't in bad shape at that point, but now it's starting to get to show some wear, so I would like to get that replaced too, so.
So what areas are we doing?
So that, all the pink, basically area is what we're doing, carpet.
Okay.
Mainly is the social service part, but then as you see on each side of the hallways and the auditorium.
Yep.
And then that one down by public health, social service, that little chunk of
Yep.
main hallway. We're just gonna get it finished off because we did the rest of the halls, but we just didn't do that chunk, so.
All right.
So, question again. That's a big difference in price. Is it apples to apples? I mean, did they bid the same exact Shaw? I'm just trying to.
The Shaw carpet we did, and then they did bid out to do, I think the other one's Kraus is the one. The problem is, either way, we can't go, we're not gonna match the carpet totally. We're gonna get the closest match possible. Normally, we'd always recommend the Kraus carpet. That's kind of what we have done in the past, because we want the same design and same patterns. But this one, I couldn't do that because they don't, we special ordered some last time. So yes, there's a little thing, but the carpets are comparable, weight-wise, and everything else is, they're almost the same match, I mean, as far as, comparing apples to apples on numbers.
So they were both bidding the same thing.
Yeah.
Was the bid difference in the cost of the material or the labor?
I would guess it's probably not, it's probably more on the labor side of things, because that's mainly what, we're bidding out, mainly for the labor. As you can see, I was gonna try to look at what the carpet cost is actually, if they actually broke that out. And I don't.
No, it's a unit price that's in there, which includes the labor.
Yeah.
So it's, the one included everything as unit prices, and then the other had it broken out by labor and material, so it's difficult to tell.
Right.
So on the hallways, evidently they've got that set a little different here for the hallways, but they're not doing anything with the base? Because they charge for base?
The hallway is actually broadloom, and the other stuff is carpet tile.
Okay.
So the broadloom we did in the hallways because we wanted to keep the outside. We're only replacing the center sections because we have the colored on the outside.
Okay.
So really all we're replacing is down the center of the carpet. So yes, I did there are 2 or 3 areas are broadloom carpet, so it's actually roll, and then the rest of it and social service will all be carpet tile like we have been putting in.
Those 2 foot by 2 foot.
Yeah. And that's kind of the process we have done in the past, is going to carpet tile. It's been kind of a nice solution to some of the areas, so when we do replace again, the big thing now is, to tearing everything down and putting it all back up, when we do them areas, because you gotta remove all the furniture in there, which is not in, that's gonna be on our end to do that, to put it back up.
Well, the carpet squares are a good idea, because then if you move a desk and you tear one, you can replace it
Right.
versus a whole, so.
You purchase extra carpet squares when you do it so you can match for a few years?
We did have, on the last project we had enough, and I was hoping we'd have enough to maybe do a bigger area of this project, but there was only one pallet left, so
I think it's good to have some extra.
we do have extras for, I mean, that was my whole goal, is to try to keep it pretty consistent all the way through, but it's just hasn't, it hasn't really, worked out that way, you know, as we're doing projects, then, you know, carpet companies, they switch up the, you know, their style, so, so we're probably gonna end up having, you know, multiple different carpets, but we do have some of the older stuff. And then the idea would be that you'd pull, if you were to do that, you could pull a section out and put a, you know, out of one area and then reuse that in another area if you have to, you know, make breaks in the carpet.
I was looking at it. Can I was looking at the numbers and we're off $1,000. I just saved us another $1,000.
Oh, I put the wrong numbers
It's
down.
43,745. If I added it up, right?
Thanks, Steve.
All right.
Yeah.
Way to go.
That's good. Well,
You get an extra piece of banana bread.
All right. Look at that. I didn't even know I was getting paid for that.
Then you can even have butter on it.
Yes. Oh, everything's better with butter.
Well, I was in the social service offices the other day and it needs to be replaced. I looked, I thought, somebody's gonna fall down and kill themselves here. And I was afraid it would be me, but
We're glad you got out.
thank you.
Got out alive.
I think we put this off for a long time because we were thinking about the remodel, but trying to wait for everything, but this is a good idea to get it done, so. I will make a motion, to approve a quote from SJP Designs to replace carpet in the social service department in the amount of $43,745.24.
that's all I
I'll
have.
second that motion.
How soon will they get after this?
Again, I'm hoping, I would like to see it go pretty quickly. I'll let them know and I'll try to get a timeline set up. It's gonna be a little bit of a challenge for us because obviously it's, we have that responsibility of tearing stuff down for them. So we'll have to figure out how that, and there might be, just so we're aware, maybe we'll, because I think the last time we had the highway come and help, but, you know, obviously we had to pay a little overtime and stuff for, if we have to have extra crew help, but.
How's their product availability? This is a
kinda-
fair
Well,
one.
and that's what I said, normally that was, in the later, early part of the year, which was a little bit better. So now that we're gonna maybe have snow, I might not have that option, but I'll actually entertain that and see if they would be, maybe some availability to that. If not, we'll just have to try to, you know, direct it ourselves or maybe get Mary Jean.
I meant by getting carpet. Are they
Yeah.
gonna be able to get this quantity?
Right, and that's, we'll check that out. We'll work all them details out. I'm hoping to try to get it done before the end of the year. But we might not make that either. There might be some things that we have to do, but hopefully we'll get started so we can kind of start to implement, and then we'll just kind of hopefully get a schedule going. And I think it'll be a good time to do it for, you know, as far as people coming in and out, you know. We can maybe shift people around. So I think it'll be a really nice project to have done now.
How are these, like the roof job and now the carpeting, how are those advertised for bids? Where do you advertise? Do you go door knocking? You go to the
No,
local
I
businesses?
basically call a couple of vendors and I go out and get quotes. I mean, unless, we don't really have to go for a full bid process unless it's what is it?
So our state law and then also our purchasing policy requires we go out to do formal bids when the contract is gonna exceed $175,000 in value. There's thresholds at which point we have to do different things. These contracts are both within the threshold that 2 quotes, as Joel has done, is sufficient.
Because I think, how does Tom's Carpet in Eden Valley know that this is even an opportunity for them to bid? How do they find out?
Yeah, I'd call them and ask them for, I'd come out and they do a walkthrough and they show. So I actually, I reach out to them, the vendors, to come and do a project like this.
Okay.
Like on a bigger project, like some of our, like you said, over 107,000, then we would go out, it would be an actual official quote sent out to them, you know, for a bid process. These are not typically under a bid process, guidelines for this, so it's just mainly quotes set up.
I think you'd call at least every Meeker County business that would be able to give a a bid on something like this.
I wonder if you could put it on the website.
But there's that.
That's what
I
we do
mean,
with highway, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, but highways typically also going out and getting contracts greater than 175,000.
Pardon me?
They're typically getting contracts greater
Right.
than 175.
But I think that, what Julie's saying is, everybody should probably have an opportunity, so I'm just wondering if that.
Yeah. Are there 5 carpet places in Meeker County? I see 2 bids here. Did the other 3 get contacted, or, I'm just curious, did everybody get a chance?
So the policy, again, it follows state law, but the reason why at certain thresholds it becomes a little less formal is in an effort to expedite the process to be able to get the work done.
And there's
so-
an amount of money that is different, I can't ever remember, right? So
Yeah,
the
I'd have to,
process
I don't remember exactly what it is off the top.
is different.
And I actually had 3 vendors that I normally would use. I use, there's one from Dassel, Tri-County Carpeting, and I contacted him, he didn't want to even put a quote in for this one. So I did talk to 3 vendors, and that was the 3 vendors we did on our last project. So I used them same 3 vendors again. I've kind of been consistent using them as our, that's been our process so far.
sure.
But I don't know any other carpet, companies. I mean, I guess if there's more carpet companies out there that are in the area that can do these type of projects, I would be willing to entertain that. I mean,
Yeah, the intent is certainly to have high quality contractors who can do it at a reasonable price. And so if there are other contractors out there that would be interested in providing quotes on that, we're always open to find out who they are and contact them.
Sure. We like to support our local businesses.
Yep.
Julie's carpet store opening up?
She wouldn't be able to.
Another side
That would be a
gig for me.
conflict,
I'm
Another
just
side.
kidding.
wouldn't it?
Do that. I don't know if my knees could take it, that's hard work. Yeah.
That was her husband's birthday present to her.
Julie, get another job. Oh, great. Well, any other questions or comments? Have we taken a motion on this yet? I
We've got a
don't think.
motion and a second, we need a vote.
We just need to vote.
Any other questions?
Absolutely not.
None. Then we will take the vote. Now that Steve saved us $1,000, that's great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
thank you very much.
You,
Thanks, Joel.
very good. All right, that one is done. Now we have Brandy.
Good morning, Brandy Sheepmine, Meeker County Attorney, here to request approval to hire Patrick Zimmerman as a full-time Assistant County Attorney pending a successful background check. He'd be starting at level C45, step 1, which is $32.67 per hour. He is coming with at least 3 years of experience as a law clerk, no experience in the courtroom, but is energetic and ready to prosecute cases and be a minister of justice on the state side.
Madam Chair, I move to approve hiring of Patrick Zimmerman, a full-time assistant county attorney pending a successful background check at level C45, step 1, $32.67 an hour.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Okay, any additional questions?
And I should note that he would start on November 15th of 2021.
Alrighty. How many other positions are you still working with, Brandy, to fill, or were you able to pull from the same pool any additional folks?
Yes, we hired from the same pool. We hired 2 assistant county attorneys. We have the contract position set for advertisement, so we don't have that position filled at this time. We're currently down 2 attorneys. The positions will be filled November 1 and November 15th.
So you'll be back up to normal.
Correct.
Your old normal. Good.
Great, very good. Any additional questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew,
Can we do a quick break before?
we can. We have the option at 10 o'clock.
I'm sorry.
Yep. Yep. We'll take a,
Well, we're on schedule.
Okay.
This is margarine.
All right, we're ready whenever you are, Julie.
Well, that was
Yeah,
nice.
that's
We
what I was
had
told it was a
a little snack and cup of
Thank you.
coffee and visit. and-
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Very much for the banana.
You're very welcome. We'll have to do that more often. We don't have to have a reason.
You'll be baking more often?
I can. Yes, I enjoy that. Well, very
Never.
good. Well, we will come back here now from break, and Andrew, if you would like to take over here?
Yeah, I have just two items for you. The first is appointment to the Housing Redevelopment Authority Board. This is basically a reappointment of Ron Graham onto the board. He had served there for many years, and his appointment came up, I think, over the summer, and now he's looking
Term.
to get back on.
And I'm on the HRA board, and he's chairing the meetings I'm at, and does a good job. So I would make a motion to reappoint Ron Graham to the Meeker County HRA.
And I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Great. Okay, any questions? I also know Ron. He's very good, very good.
He
So
does a good
that's-
job.
That's a good appointment.
Good asset.
Yep. Any comments or questions? Otherwise, we'll take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ron has been reappointed.
Very brief report for you, just that we are gonna have a work session next week. We're gonna have two agenda items. One is an update on the Meeker's Cares program, and the second is Barb is gonna give an update on County Ditch 15 and everything that's gone on for the past 7 years to give you all a primer prior to the public meeting that's gonna occur on November 1st.
First.
And it's my understanding that it's going to be a very well-attended meeting. at the
Oh, boy.
National History
Yes.
Center.
And that's why we wanted to make sure that you had information going into it and you weren't going in blind.
Also, I don't know how much time she will have, but Commissioner Schiefelbein called me a week or two ago about the process that we use when, like we did the public hearing, and who decides how much attorney input we need, cause we had an attorney, and he does a good job, it's not that, but he was online here for a couple hours so maybe if we could maybe get some education on, I told Danny I liked his ideas, but I think it's up to Barb, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, and that's conversations that Barb and I have had as well about utilizing the attorney efficiently, and so we're doing it, which is why we didn't have him on the call today. There was a thought at one point of having him at today's meeting, but as we know, we had the bulk of the discussion 2 weeks ago, and there was less of a need, I thought.
I felt like it could have been finished 2 weeks ago, but I must have been missing something.
I think he was right on getting the two folks that came here, John Hoff and Mr. Smelly's comments.
Yeah, but they seemed like they were satisfied, I don't know.
Yeah, they were sad. I think the only question really was making sure that the township gave the final blessing or, complete approval, which he didn't
about
have
their
that
meeting
formal,
date.
he didn't have that formal
Right. Yeah.
document. So, yeah, their meeting
Something
date.
about their meeting hadn't.
So maybe if she could just speak a little to the process, so that, cause I had no understanding of what the process actually is.
And I think it's basically upon opposition. That,
So it depends on-
if you start getting she knows there's gonna be a lot of
That's when she gets the
discussion that
attorney
she-
involved.
Is that a fair?
Does she consult with you on any of it, Brandy, first, or?
She will usually let me know if something's starting to get hotly contested, but we have a retainer with Rinky Noonan, and so
Right.
that's the avenue we usually go.
Okay. Well, it'd just be interesting to
yeah.
know the
No,
process,
that's
I
good.
think.
Sure, we can add that to the agenda. That concludes my report.
And what was the first item we were gonna talk about next?
Meeker Cares. It's it's a program that social services and
Okay.
public health had put together through the pandemic, and so they wanted to give an update to the board.
I just wanted, because you got CARES Act, I got Grove
Yes.
City Care. I
No,
got too many cares.
I thought it
It's
was a
like-
CARES Act.
That's why, thank you.
All right. Nothing else from Andrew's report. We'll go down to our committee updates. Do we have a volunteer? Anybody want to go first, or?
I think Paul should go first, cause we were in some of the same meetings, and I'll just fill in. if
Then
there's
we'll,
any.
we'll pass the torch down. All right, Paul, you're on.
First meeting was our AIS, and Andrew made a presentation to the board of the proposed move to soil and water. Well received by the board. Matter of fact, the board passed a resolution supporting the change. So And then we just talked about, a little bit about the budget, and, I'm gonna let you fill in on the
Sure.
balance of that.
Sure.
Then I had a Prime West meeting. That was a pretty good meeting, wasn't it, Beth? I mean, there was a
Well-
lot of discussion and. She had a little longer day than I did because she
I started
off
the finance meeting at 10,
10.
and then this guy is really good, but I'm telling you, you go to sleep listening. Then I gotta listen to it through the whole.
Yeah, cause then he goes, it recaps it for all of us, so she's
Yeah.
hearing the same thing.
Anyway, go ahead.
But one of the things that they spoke about, and we've heard about it before, is many times when someone is hospitalized, they will say, okay, you should be in the hospital for 3 days. That's how much you're gonna get paid for being in the hospital. Many of these hospitals are experiencing no place to send them for care afterwards, so they can't discharge them. So they may be keeping them 5 and 6 days, but only getting paid for 3. Because nursing homes just don't have the staff. We had a long discussion about some of the words in our core value statement relating to diversity and
Well, health equity.
health equity, yes, and some of the terms used there.
So we didn't pass the policy.
Nope.
We're gonna have some more discussion about it.
We had a discussion on the open meeting law, which it appears that, meaning no disrespect to you, Brandy, but that no two attorneys interpret that thing the same way.
They're not.
Everybody has a different opinion. One board we go to, you must be present
To
to
vote.
make a motion or vote. The next one you're at, it's okay to be online, which it's difficult to take votes online. I mean,
Very much.
so big discussion on that. They're gonna do some further research and present at the next meeting, but the open meeting law, yes, seems to be
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they decide that November everyone had to be in person if there were gonna be a vote? Because to kind of piggyback off this has come up in a lot of my boards too, and some are saying, like, if you go in a public place, like if I would come up to the boardroom in Zoom, then you can vote. But also, don't you have to publicize the meeting then? So then I have to say we have a Prime West meeting and,
Yep.
right? You have to do that too, right?
Correct.
So,
And
I
it
don't
also depends on what your bylaws are. Your bylaws can be more specific as well.
Cause I was always under the understanding too that you could be virtual, but you couldn't vote. I mean, you could.
but you
be
could
there.
because of the emergency.
Yes,
But that ended on July 11th, and you had 60 days from that particular date, am I correct?
I believe so, yeah.
To get back into compliance.
So that's why Prime West is saying in November, if I'm not there, I can't vote. Or whoever, there was a lot of people in line, cause it's a good jaunt, you know, it's an easier way to meet.
But the other thing was just to visit a little bit about the 11 new counties that are coming in. And once all the agreements are signed by the 11 new counties coming in, the largest mental health provider for Prime West will be Woodland Center. So that was kind of nice to hear. To give you a real quick snapshot, Meeker County, of the 50,041 members of Prime West or users, we have 4,285. Medical assistance comprises 3,516, and Minnesota Care is 333, and then it trickles down from there. So we have a large portion of our county that utilizes Prime West.
you mentioned, mental health and Woodland Centers, because I was at MRC yesterday. Some of the outlying counties, are you hearing anything of the outlying counties, when I say outlying, outstate counties, losing their mental health contracts, or they're gonna have no mental health?
Yeah, I can't remember, I think I reported from our Woodland board meeting last
Okay.
time, Southwest, somebody had lost some of their clinicians, so they didn't have the ability to do a couple of things. And they asked Woodland to take it over, and they can't, because they're just as short-staffed. This is gonna become a huge issue, it truly is.
25,000 nursing home beds are empty because of short staffing.
Yep, 25,000
The hospitals right now, it's not a max capacity issue, it's a no help issue to fill the
They're
beds.
all on
So, I mean,
divert, they're all on divert, so we had a hospital board meeting yesterday, and Helly was there, and I think he said the one nursing home they use a lot is at
25, yes.
25% capacity, so you have these elderly people or whatever taking up beds, it's a mess.
And
It's
F-
COVID related too, but it's also the no staffing and it's a mess.
And on top of that, of course, it's money driven, of course. I was talking after the meeting with Dr. Peterson and Dr. Beulah. And one of the things that some of these places that have room do, they look at what this patient is coming with. Because the services they may provide have a higher reimbursement. So they'll deny this person, take that one because it's a higher reimbursement, they're gonna make more money. So it's a little bit of a money-driven issue too.
we had a rescue meeting last night in Eden Valley, and we have a nurse from Paynesville Hospital on our staff, and we have 2 nurses in St. Cloud. And the Paynesville nurse at the end, she said, just remember, if we have a patient, send them to St. Cloud, don't send them to Paynesville right now, because she said we've had a couple patients die because we have nowhere to go with them.
We're doing,
And St. Cloud nurses were like,
they don't have room.
don't send, they could wait 8 hours
They're at
to get into the emergency.
79% capacity.
In,
Centricare
at
was?
Centricare.
Yeah.
That was on.
The wait is long, I mean, there's just burnout,
It's-
they've got COVID fatigue. I feel bad for them, they have to you're gonna have to start making some choices here that you don't
And
ever
the
wanna make.
November 1 deadline too is they're anticipating it's gonna be worse staffing wise. I mean, because there's people that are walking away, they're
Well,
not
now's
gonna
not a
take the
time for a
shot.
mandate either, so it's just,
It's sad because, they talked, we're gonna do it in a hospital at the same time here, but we have 3 ventilators,
3, I think, or 4.
3 or 4. It's not so much the ventilator, it's the monitoring and the direct care that has to happen when they're on the ventilator. So you're taking somebody.
And we never used to, they can do them, but we don't do them every day. Now we're doing them when we have to, and then that full oxygen treatment that they use for COVID, we ordered another one of those. They're doing that that one infusion,
The infusion of the antibodies.
they're doing, and they're starting to do that now, trying to use a shot, which you can do, I think they did their first one a week or so ago, so they don't have to infuse everybody, it takes a separate nurse in a separate area, every time, monoclonal, I can never
Yes,
think of
that's-
it. But another thing I found out from, one of the doctors is, cause they were rationing that care, that treatment, but if you're willing to take people from whoever comes in that needs one, then you can get it. We've had people from Minneapolis, we've had people from Glencoe, because we have it available and we take to do it. So, we've had cardiac patients that there's no place to fly out. It's serious,
Yeah.
and it's kinda scary.
I think the thing though that kinda gets forgotten is the doctors and the nurses that are there running 7-day shifts, 8 hours a day, but they're running 12 and 16 hours a day. They're doing a heck of a job. They're discouraged when they go places and see large crowds and no masks, because that is one of the proven things that prevents transmission is the mask. I think she described being in church, and there was only 5 people in there with masks on in church, and they have a sign on the door, please wear, or you're encouraged to wear a mask. So-
Nobody wants to go back to that. We're where we are, and I just think people are over it. But when you look at the doctors and the nurses, they work so hard. And we went to this 7-day hospitalist, so they're on call for 7 days, and they did that during COVID because it worked better. You didn't have so much exposure. But now they're really, really busy, so they might spend the whole day. They do the rotation for 7 or 8 days, whatever it is. So, God bless them, and I hope everybody remembers what a great medical community we have here and how important this hospital is here right now. because
Something they said that was really interesting, I think it was not yesterday, the previous Monday, by 9 o'clock in the morning, they had taken 1,000 phone calls, wasn't it?
yeah, it was a lot, I don't
It
remember
was
the
just a
number, but
tremendous amount of phone calls. The phones were overwhelmed at the clinics and at the hospital.
the testing and the,
So it's, you know, we look at COVID in maybe a little different light than the doctors and nurses do. To them, it's war. They're in a war. You don't get to sleep if you're in war.
they're
you're a
tired.
service member.
They're tired.
It's, and from the rescue side too, when we're having conversations such as the ones we did last night, I mean, when you're not being able, our job is to get them to the hospital as quick as possible. When they're sitting at the hospital, that is wartime situation. I mean, you're basically picking and choosing, who gets treatment, who doesn't, and that's never pleasant. And the other problem with that is the emotional strain it puts on the people who have to make those decisions.
Absolutely.
And that's why there was, in the military, they call it R&R, and getting you out of combat zones and getting you away from that type of thing, because you cannot continue to do that kind of, put your body and your mind, the mind is not capable of processing that on a continual basis, and it's too much emotional strain, and that's why anybody who's close to retirement, I don't blame them one bit for
They're walking away.
I mean, it's too much to bear.
And I hope that everyone, the community and everyone, no matter what your stand is on the vaccination or the mask or whatever, this isn't political. These people are working hard, and we need to appreciate that. Show them, they have people coming to the hospital, they're back to one patient, the same person to visit, then they're giving them a hard time. We wanna bring 5 people in without, no, try to cooperate where you can, if you.
Do your part. Do your small part.
That's
Your
what we
small
all
part.
need to do and show these doctors that we care, Al is on the board and he said, you talk about a critical care hospital and how big places are eating them up. But what would we do right now without this critical care hospital? Cause we have people they're saving lives every day. There's nowhere to take them and they keep them alive till they can move. And that's a big deal. So we need to all appreciate what they're doing, and if you get a chance, thank them.
Beth alluded to something a minute ago about these people who came to visit someone, did not have masks on, gave the staff at the front door a bad
Hard time.
marched right through, then got upstairs and dressed down the person. I don't know if it was a nurse or who
I don't
approached
know.
them up
It
there.
just-
Doesn't make any difference, but just got belligerent.
The new rule is one person with a patient, and the same person all the time now.
And a mask.
And a mask on. When you go in a medical facility, you have to wear them. And if you can't do that, don't go. It's as simple, let's try to cooperate. That's what I'm saying. It isn't all, just cooperate where you can. It's pretty simple. So, anyway, we all need to pray for the doctors and the nurses here and in the whole state, obviously, but our county is feeling it and they're doing a great job, but it's getting rough.
Yeah.
So, and our EMTs.
And our fallout, I think we talked about this a year ago, the fallout behind this was gonna be worse.
Absolutely.
The cure was gonna be worse than the disease, and I think that's where we are today, and that's
Yeah. So,
unfortunately.
Yep.
I mean,
Was there any discussion about when some of the booster opportunities will come our way?
they're doing them at the clinics. They don't foresee any big vaccine clinics like we used to have. Public health is doing some. They certainly do the school has, they would like to do a school. They had some interest in Eden Valley a few months ago, but if they don't want it, you can't, you can't make them do it. So, but of course, they always find every way they can to make them available. And I think, didn't they say public health and the clinics are doing them? And your flu shot, the flu shot's important.
Yeah, I asked Dr. Peterson, I said, what about everybody else's vaccinations for the year? Are we seeing, there's so much focus on COVID, and people lost focus on the ordinary flu vaccine, the pneumococcal, the shingles, stuff like that? And she surprisingly said, no, we have had a good turnout for those annual vaccinations.
People are checking on
And the-
I'm
and
up
the
to date on my tetanus.
There's
Oh
more
my God.
pediatric age is being treated, well, RSV has been bad this year too, so they have that. Then you have the pediatrics who are getting COVID, and some of them, I mean, I had a relative, a little gal that had it, and she was done in 2 days, but it depends, like everything else. Dr. Deb says the reason we didn't have all that last year was because of the mask. Everybody was masking, everybody was sanitizing, everybody was being more careful. So, I don't know. But it's tough out there, so I hope everybody just remembers to thank them and try to do the best we can for everybody. And hopefully it'll pass soon.
So that kind of blended our hospital report and our.
Sorry.
Last thing is I'm gonna send to the commissioners and Andrew, just something I got from Jim Philip from Prime West. It's why current counties are doing county-based purchasing through Prime West, and why new counties wanna do county-based purchasing through Prime West. You know, they've all had HMOs, but you'll be able to read this for yourself. I'm not gonna take that time. CCT, ridership remains around an average of 1,250 per month, or per week, I'm sorry. The biggest discussion was over recruitment and retention, same thing. Everybody else has got, you know, everybody's getting burned out. Their part-timers are working 40 to 60 hours a week. Their full-timers are working 60 hours, you know, and they're just burning out. And if, I don't know if you've noticed, that's, a lot of the CCT drivers, for the most part, are part-timers. You know, they didn't want full-time employment when they started there. But now, just to keep it going, they are putting in the extra hours. But then they get to that point where they've had, as Tiffany said, they've had requests for POT time, or PTO time, and they have to deny it. Well, what happens if you get denied a couple of PTOs to go to your grandkids' ball games or your child's ball games? You just go find a different job.
This was supposed to be a part-time, yeah.
And our buses are getting old.
Uh-oh.
And we have got no dates when the 4 from last year is supposed to show up. And they're gonna place the order for the 2021s. Well, if you haven't gotten last year's, your 2021s aren't gonna be close by. So fleet's getting old, and that's kind of that. Last one was PAC, or no, not the last, the next one was PAC, and that was that Project Turnabout. And I learned so much about, as I discussed with Brian, the Delta 8, Delta 9 little drug. I asked about our opioid issues in our counties, and they said, it's there. The problem right now is they are being sold on the street look-alike drugs to an oxycodone pill that's laced with fentanyl. And so that's one of the things, the vaping, which I discussed, you know, RCW found the 4th grader that was vaping. An interesting thing though, a few years ago, they got a grant and they started an alcohol prevention, and it was Candy High Yellow Medicine in Renville. And she just gave me the Renville stats because she knew them right away. When they interviewed the 9th graders, 38.5% of them had had an experience with alcohol in the last 30 days. You know,
Ninth grade.
9th grade. And she said that alcohol still is the drug of choice for the young. Still the one that's after. Just a couple of quick facts on fentanyl. It was first developed in 1959 and introduced in the 60s as an intravenous anesthetic. It is still legal. It's a legal drug. They still use it. But we've heard Steve say that public safety is gonna cost us a lot more in the future, and here's something. There was a police officer in Fargo that died after touching a high dose of fentanyl powder while helping someone. It absorbed through his skin, got into his system, and shut down his organs. So when we talk about public safety, people, our sheriffs, our police officers, our first responders, our firemen, you know, they've got a PPE up before they do anything, you know, so our whole world has changed a lot. Last one was IT training, or IT, meeting yesterday morning. I think, Andrew, and correct me if I'm wrong, there seems to be, a little fear about the upcoming outlook.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Change is change. And so, Mary and I have had some conversations about how we're going to address that. We're gonna do it through having, a training opportunity for staff to work with another staff member who has more recently had some extensive experience in Outlook, so.
You know, you probably have a lot of staff members in every department who use Outlook for their personal one at home.
Yeah.
You know, you grab a subject matter expert out of there and
So what is the fear? Just the users are afraid of how to use
Just
it?
concern about how to do certain things, and it's new, and so it's not terribly different from group-wise to do the basic things, you know, set a meeting and
I think it's
send
easier,
email
but that's
and-
just because
I-
that's what I do, I suppose.
I agree.
Group-wise I'm still not used to it.
Yeah, I have my struggles as well. So, but I think that we will, we're gonna provide something to make it available to folks. And the intent is that we're gonna do it virtually, so someone can sit at their desk and watch the training and participate in the training that way, and then record it so that we have it available for folks who might not be able to attend.
And I think they find that kind of was an old theme that when Word got mentioned, Excel got mentioned, but there's a lot of tricks and easy shortcuts in there that you just don't know about. And it would be nice to
Yeah.
have a time when there's a group maybe sitting around and then you tend to share with somebody, hey, did you know you can do this? A lot of stuff gets learned that way. So with that, I've taken my fair share of time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna
Yeah,
piggyback
they
off
said.
of, I'm gonna piggyback off of Paul, if you're, are you done, Paul?
Yep, yes ma'am,
Okay,
if you want that.
I have it.
yeah, on the 19th, we had our regular, today is the 19th, so on the 6th, just after our last meeting, we had the aquatic invasive species. We discussed the transfer of management to the Soil Water Conservation Board. Board agreed, motion passed. The AIS Advisory Board members will continue to serve in their present role, and that was a concern. They would like to continue to serve. Hopefully, there will be a representative from the Soil and Water Board that will join then this committee, the AIS Advisory Committee. The position will, it's currently at 65%, and we will pay for that portion, and the Soil and Water Conservation will kick in 35% and turn this then into a full-time position. It's yet to be decided how the position description will be worded. The Soil and Water Board will address that. And I don't know if Paul had anything above and beyond what you shared your comments. Okay. Then my next meeting was Thursday, the 14th. We met in Hutchinson. It was the public health, I call it the three-way. It was the three-county community health board. There are 3 counties involved with that: Sibley, McLeod, and Meeker. Here again, Beth had mentioned the new buzzword is health equity. Health equity. Every other sentence had health equity involved. All members were present. This was the first time I'd had a chance to meet all of the members in a face-to-face meeting. We met in Hutchinson. Interesting facts, 51% of Meeker County is currently vaccinated. We are at the bottom of that statistic. Other counties are in that mid 50%, low to mid 50%, but Meeker just eked up to 51% vaccinated. There were 51 deaths in Meeker County due to COVID, and now they're seeing school-age children. The rate is going up for positives in that age bracket. There were some budget discussions. We need to itemize a few columns for clarity, so that was going to be cleaned up. The Finance Committee will discuss these. Some budget modification revisions will be addressed. At the next meeting, which is November 10th, we're going to set the meeting dates for the year 2022. And Beth, you attended along with me. Do you have anything in addition?
Just that, we tried to integrate the CHS years ago, it didn't work. So we did a delegation agreement. So delegating who does what and what we're gonna do together and what we're gonna do separate. So, we suggested that, and the attorney at the time that drew it up said, you need to look at these every year, they're fluid, things can change. And so the managers, the public health directors and the people that are on the board are gonna bring some changes that, they're gonna do some discussion on that. We're gonna clarify the role of the CHS administrator and get ready to do a review for her because of COVID, and we haven't done that. COVID came and we did some, so we're gonna be doing some of that. And other than that, I think you covered it all
Okay.
that I heard, so.
Very good. And then my next meeting now, I have a Library Pioneer Land Regional Meeting, which will be this Thursday.
Are all the libraries open now?
I believe so.
So do you
believe
meet
so.
in person?
They are still electing to meet Zoom.
Can you do that? I'm just curious, maybe you can. So that depends on the board policy.
Yeah, I don't know what the bylaws are.
Cause the library is the one that got a bump in their appropriation, right? Wasn't, and.
Yep.
Right, and that's gonna be used for,
I had the,
or you're having a meeting tonight,
Yeah,
so you'll
it'll
get
be
that.
Thursday. But she gave me a nice letter of, because I asked her, can you itemize that a little bit more? And she did, itemized where some of those additional funding requests were going to be placed.
So you have that
Yeah,
information.
I have.
I didn't recall getting this.
Yep, but yeah, they've elected to still meet as a Zoom option. So
Interesting.
Yep.
Good.
that's my report.
Beth, you got some stuff to add? And you,
I have a couple other, do you want me to go?
go ahead, go ahead.
So, I'm we were together on
Sure.
that and together on that, so I'm not gonna get into a lot of it. With Prime West, of course, they're always sitting pretty well financially, but we're still not disenrolling anyone, so they're trying, because of COVID, they're not disenrolling anyone, so to try to find out how all that pans out after COVID will be interesting. They gave out $1.6 million in grants to work toward health equity. Woodland Center requested 400 and some thousand and got 250,000. And they said they will add to that if needed, as the programs go. Woodland Center has found that, in doing a survey, that they have a minority population over there that we're really not reaching. There's a lot of Somalis, and so they're gonna be working toward that and making that more, and that's part of that grant, I believe. And then also the CHB got a $10,000 scholarship for some health equity stuff, so. That was all on that. We had a daycare meeting, I don't know, Andrew. We did a survey, we're not gonna there's no interest in a business discount card, there was a very low response for that. They're talking about, there's some potential need in Cokato, maybe, Dassel area, but then part of Cokato isn't in Meeker County. So I feel like they're starting to get their sea legs, but I don't know, can you add?
The big thing now is, so through the work of the committee, there were kind of two ideas that came up. One was doing the community fund, which could help provide grants or typically small grants to childcare providers for capital improvements, purchase new playground equipment or purchase, install a window well, that sort of stuff. Also, or doing this discount card where they could go purchase items for their business at a discount from local retailers. The discount card, through the survey of providers, received the highest feedback, but when contacting businesses who could provide that discount, there was really no interest. And so,
Part of their thing is, well, why would my business help another business?
Yes.
We've got some work to do in the area of your business needs
of
daycare.
educating
Right,
the
educating
businesses.
that way.
So that's part of the work that Lisa and Judy had talked about moving forward, but then also Now we kind of know this community fund may be the route to go, and some folks had expressed interest in maybe contributing towards that. And so Lisa is working on putting together grant guidelines for that program, which then will come back to the committee and be reviewed, and then ultimately come and that's what we're going to use to then kind of start the process of building this fund.
So that's been a long I think we're getting closer to try to
Yes.
find
We seem
why
to,
we're there.
we
but
seem to have a path forward now.
Yeah, that's helpful. So I had a Woodland meeting also, Danny and I did. We lost a longtime staff member, he's retiring after 35 years. We're short-staffed now, so it's just the same mantra everywhere you go. The CCBHC site visit was completed, and we're hoping that we'll be licensed for that in January, and that will give us ability to bring in more money and charge more for things, and it also will be a better preventive for people. We help people to make sure they get their meds, to make sure there's people that actually need day-to-day help that we're gonna provide. So the cost is greater, but we're gonna get paid more, so hopefully that'll help. The social service directors met with, and their financial staff met with Ashley, and I believe Linda, and the counties about the purchase of service contracts. They decided that they wanna be under one contract for now. The financial directors being there, they said was very helpful. They had a productive meeting, and they're gonna be reporting, billing quarterly instead of biannually, and eventually I think they'd like to get that down to monthly. I did get an email from Paul asking us to vote for the changes, so they were happy. So he kinda opened this discussion, and it was a little tense at times early on, but it's turned out to be a very positive thing, so I thank him for that. And then I told you they got the health equity grant, and that's about, we went over the 401k out and things like that, so. But another thing is just short of help. They're trying to cross-train people, and it's like you said, if people have been there 30 years and they can get out, they're getting out. So it's a problem, and that's a problem that we have to start solving, because if we don't, I don't know how we go on. So that's and then I don't know if we're gonna speak. We did interview some people from VSO for the VSO.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to give an update on that.
We'll give an update on that.
Probably at the
whenever.
next meeting.
Okay. All right. That's what I have.
Okay, well, basically all I had, the biggest thing I had, and really all I had in the last 10 days here was the MRC meeting, which I went to yesterday up in Alexandria. MRC, Minnesota Rural Counties, the annual meeting, the budget for this coming year is flat, is same as it was last year. The main topics we talked about, mental health, the closing down in rural counties of the mental health facilities, or just removing them options from many of these local counties and the concern there. Then I mentioned the nursing homes running at about 25,000 open rooms statewide, and basically because of staffing, not enough people per statute, you have to have so many care givers per resident, and they don't have the staffing to fill them. Broadband continues to be an item for a lot of these counties. And then we did talk about a resolution, bringing up a resolution for the meeting to help, because the state don't get anything done at the legislature. I mean,
You're right.
And Dan Larson talked a lot about, he said 30 years ago when he started this, he said it used to be a Republican Democrat issue. He said now it's a rural metro issue. And he said very, very polarized that way. And one of the things, the legislature and the Senate, or the House and Senate, don't, can't agree on anything. And so the MRC was wanting to bring forward a resolution because Minnesota is one of the only states in the nation that when the governor can, I don't like to use the word impose, but enact, the executive powers for 30 days. And after 30 days, he needs approval to get that to continue on. And in Minnesota, he only needs one branch of government to do that. And we're
Can't we just get over all that?
but they have we're one of the only states in the nation that allows that. Every other state, you need both House and
They
Senate
tried to-
approval.
That's right.
And so because they don't get anything done down there, MRC is looking into making that a resolution to try and put some pressure on these guys because it doesn't matter what, right now we're using the past example as our recent memory. But it doesn't, what's the next example and who's in power and, which party, it doesn't matter. It still should be, if the governor has to speak to both parties, you're forcing them to come to the table to come up with a general consensus versus just getting half of the government to do so. So it's, to me, it's poor policy, in general. I mean, not COVID related or anything, just bad
Was there
policy.
legislators at the meeting?
No, there was not. So it was just something that MRC is looking, to try and start putting some pressure from the bottom up, otherwise there's no incentive for anybody to change it right now. And then it goes away, and then 10 years later, the problem comes up again, and then you fight for 2 years and
And I think
nothing
there's,
gets
Accomplish
done,
nothing.
and yeah.
and there is
So-
a greater division now between rural and city. It's just worse than I've ever, right? Worse than I've ever seen.
That's what he said. It used to be
You're
a
down
Demo-
there, it's like we're two separate states. It's kind of scary,
And then,
It's nationwide.
It's that way all over.
Yeah, it's a nationwide issue.
and then Mille Lacs County brought up, this topic I wanted to bring up, because I wanna reiterate how blessed we are right here in Meeker. Mille Lacs County is losing 1/3 of their tax base, around the lakes, which is their expensive tax base, to the Native Americans and some of this, I don't know if you wanna call it restructuring, and they have a levy increase of 24.5% because of that. And he's.
So are they moving off of Lake Mille Lacs? Is that what they're talking about? Cause that's been going on for years.
They're gonna take some of that, give some of the land back or something to the,
Don't that know too?
I'm not
Or it was over the
exactly
fishing,
sure
I think.
how it. No, I don't, but I mean, that's the impact by losing that. So he said, we're in real trouble. He said, and he said, we need help. He said, and legislatively, they're not getting a whole lot of traction. So he was looking for something from MRC to try and.
Well, they're in a big lawsuit too, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. So, and then that brings me to my next topic that I brought up here. In front of you have from the state auditor, and this is just Meeker's position, and then the very back page is the state as a whole. But these are the 2020 lobbying expenditures, and we talk about county program aid all the time, and we've struggled. The state government plays poker with that number a little bit. It's come back up here the last couple of years, but you can see as a county on the second page or on the top, total Meeker County pays in is $15,734, and $3,591 gets used for lobbying of that. And then if you go to page, then it's each individual city within the city of the county, I should say. And the total of all cities, they pay in $28,650, and their dues are their lobbying, $11,238 for lobbying. And then you see what they're getting. Local government aid to cities is $3,635,000, where the county is $1,170,000. And then if you turn to the very last page, total of all counties, you got the same numbers, and you're seeing that the cities are getting that local government aid of $107 million, where counties are getting $42 million, and that's directly reflective of lobbying efforts. And what, Commissioner Bill Stearns out of Wadena County is proposing, he had this put together with the auditor's office, is that, and we developed a task force, which I'll be on, to take some of the MCIT dividend dollars. We get, I think Andrew checked $108,000 back from MCIT every year in a dividend. And what Bill is proposing is that we take about $5,000, and he's just using that number for years here. Take $5,000 of that and put it into lobbying efforts through MRC. Because Dan Larson said too, he said, you have 5 meetings going on. He said, I can't be in all these rooms. And if you plug those numbers in, if you add those numbers into, you load them into these calculations, it computes a completely different number. And at that rate, there's 35 counties, it's $175,000 influx into our lobbying efforts. Our county program aid is gonna go up exponentially. So that was something that,
So do they hire more lobbyists or just spend more time?
a little of both. And so that is something he was proposing, because we don't have a seat at the table, a lot of these conversations. And then you have all the cities competing against you, and so it's something that we're gonna look into and try and propose for annual meeting.
Makes sense, except I don't like
he
lobbyists.
said
but
we're
you
just-
can't survive without them, so, but
That's
the MCIT
you're
thing
competing.
Well, yeah, I know.
Like, you're
MCIT
competing against
dividend
yourself.
varies
at the
from
end.
year to year, does it not?
It does, yes, and so.
What do we do with that now?
So it goes into the general fund.
Okay.
And so we don't have a specific earmark for it. We do budget for a dividend to come back, but we budget a little more
But we'd always
conservatively.
have, I mean, it's always been at least $5,000.
Oh, it's always been
100,000.
significantly more than
Yeah,
that.
it's-
This last year, I think we budgeted 95,000, and as Steve mentioned, we had 108,000 come back in. So, what it does is it provides a little bit of revenue for the general fund. But we could certainly find 5,000.
And that's a number that tossed out there this time, but it was used as a starting point for county. Because some of the smaller, you get counties with 9,000 people in too,
Yeah.
that don't
So
have.
would they wouldn't have that much?
And that's what we're gonna look at, do we do it on a per capita, or, do we fluctuate that, or do we just let everybody participate?
A couple boards that I'm on, CHS for instance, everything's per capita, the split, that seems to be fair.
And another thing he brought up, to take it farther, would be if you could expand that to about 80 counties, versus the 35. Because we need to, and this goes back to addressing that metro-rural thing, we don't have a voice at the table anymore. And we gotta get a voice at the table, and we just don't have the manpower to do it. So if the rural counties are willing to chip in, each county, it's gonna
So if you expand
balance
all of
that
them.
table quite a bit. So it was a very
It's
interesting
interesting.
conversation.
When we were at the AMC fall conference, sitting in the infrastructure meeting, there was lobbyists from Ramsey County and Hennepin County that sat in our meeting, actually hired by those. That's why we're competing against the metro versus the rural.
Exactly, and we don't hold,
Obvious.
we're way behind. I mean, we're late to the game, way late to the game. And especially if we start talking, it hasn't been talked about, but it was before, pre-COVID a lot. Legalize marijuana and some of the meetings we sat in on public safety in Washington State and Oregon and Colorado in them rooms, and they're saying you as counties need to be ahead of this because it's a game changer in your budgets and not in a good way out here.
Brian
So,
Cruz sat
The
right here
negative
and
side of
said,
the legalized
Yeah.
marijuana.
for every
Yeah.
dollar we earn in revenue from sale of marijuana, it's gonna cost us $6.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's-
I remember him saying.
So this is a way to try and get our voices heard better, and I thought it was an interesting concept that we're gonna look into and try and bring it forward, and he thought too, right now there's 35 counties in MRC, but they thought a lot of the, outlying county would probably jump on board or something like this, cause it's statewide, everybody's
You're gonna bring it forward at the annual conference in December?
Yeah.
Will we hear about it?
And that's the other thing we have to, MRC has to, how do I want to say, align or ally with AMC. So, I mean, this will be something that you'll be hearing. I just wanted to bring it up as long as it was
It's interesting.
fresh on my mind and just let everybody,
Task force.
and let everybody think about it a little bit and, you know, see what, if
Good
you have any, or if
conversation,
you
yeah.
hear it in other conversations or meetings that you're in too, so.
Well, I'm glad you, I don't know if you volunteered or were selected, but thank you for getting on that task force.
Yeah, no, it should be, it piqued my interest, so I did volunteer for that one, but. So there'll be, Luke Johnson from Pipestone, Bill Stearns from Wadena, Dan Larson, I think there's two more, I can't remember right offhand, but, so. But, and that's really, other than that, we have a facility improvement planning, strategic plan meeting for Friday. So that's all I got.
Tina Smith is visiting the hospital on Friday.
Right.
I may or may not be there, we'll see. Prime Health, did we get any more information on that, or do we not wanna discuss it? I just got, looking.
Yeah, let's talk offline.
Okay, sounds good.
Steve, are you going to Elk River?
It's on my agenda.
You bet.
When is it? I don't
Monday
know.
morning.
My days are so full right now.
No, so I was originally gonna go, to the AMC regional meeting next week, but we have the CPT strategic planning meeting that conflicts, so I'm gonna go to that instead, so.
Oh, and Bob Kapitsky, Stevens County, came up to me and said that he was happy to hear that, Andrew, they were gonna either solicit you if you haven't been.
I had been solicited.
Okay, so, but Andrew will be on the strategic plan for CPT and he had, everything he heard was high praise, so he was excited to be involved with that, so that's good news.
But at that meeting next Monday, they're gonna give an update on the opioid, discussions, and so, if you guys could take good notes on that, appreciate it.
Yeah, cause we did get updated at the fall conference.
Yeah,
They had that guy from West Virginia or Virginia they flew
He
in.
doesn't say anything.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. I guess the timeframe on that's gonna be very small, windows, huh?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
There's active negotiations with the AG's office going on right now, and so the update that AFP gives is gonna be important.
Okay.
Are you gonna go on Monday?
Planning to go.
Julie's done all the traveling she wants to do in her life. It's harvest time, she
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, Julie.
Nope.
But you did kinda say I've done all that. I don't,
Yeah, kind of been there, done that, but, yeah.
she has to cook for the men.
Got my men to take care
Did you
of.
look at the agenda for next Monday?
That's not politically correct.
I know I got it, I know.
The guys?
I
No.
looked at it,
Yeah, what word should we?
I'm shut down already, but
Your family, you're cooking for your family.
if there's something in there, I'll give you a call too.
Oh, I've got it at home.
Tell me
But I
this, Julie, do you like to cook?
I do,
Do you?
I do. I
Well,
feel
that
I'm
helps. I hate it.
team player, you know?
Where'd you bring
Mark
that?
is
Yes,
busy.
I had one of those on my counter. You
Oh, there you
Madam
go.
Chair, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
don't wanna watch the bugs we're watching?
I know where it went.
Yeah. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Let's take the vote. All those in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Well, happy birthday, Julie. Have
Well,
a
thank
wonderful day and
you.